I think we're live. Cannibalism. 5,700 years ago in a cave in Spain. The oldest lake settlement in Europe. An ancient Sumerian myth decoded, and lots more beside. If prehistoric archaeology is your thing, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Prehistory Guys roundup of very old news indeed. I'm Michael Bott.
And I'm Rupert Suskin. Hello, everybody.
Hello, I thought you'd forgotten who you were there for a moment. If you've joined us live, thank you so much for taking the trouble. We really don't take it for granted. And if you're watching the recording, thank you for clicking through. Either way, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you end up liking this show, please do consider supporting us by either joining our Patreon community or contributing to our ongoing location film project at the Buy Me a Coffee page. Links to both of those down below. So, Rupert, you've been paying attention to all the folks that have joined us in the chat so far. Tell me, who's with us?
I have, and apologies, folks. Do you know what? The image was crisp a couple of minutes ago before we were live, and now I appear to have gone fuzzy again. I just hope it's all right at your end. Nelly, thank you very much. Nelly has she's given us a donation and said, "Hi guys, instead of a coffee, I'll buy you a beer so you don't miss out a toast in case you need to use the R word." Yes, in fact, I think there's a few of you who are prepared for the R word. Thank you, Nelly, very much.
Thank you, Nelly. Well above and beyond the call of duty.
Yes, hello, Sibylla. Do you know what, we can't go through saying hello to everybody.
No, I didn't. That's not the thing. But I just wanted to see if there's anybody new, to the show that we needed to acknowledge and say hello to. Because I think.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry, that's obviously too much of a task. I'm sorry to land it on you like that. But the point is, if you are new to the show, this is irregular, shall we say. We pop up every few weeks to do a digest of the news that we've come across in the past few weeks, stuff that interests us. And do you know what? There's so much stuff. I mean, we've got, 10 items for you tonight to go through, a huge variety of stuff, and I'm afraid things take a dark turn in the middle, but there's something in that. Rupert, as far as the new folk are concerned, what's the thing to watch out for as far as doing the regular shows are concerned? I mean, I've been thinking that sometimes we should take little bits out and do separate news items, maybe. But we both trawled through quite a lot of stuff to get it down to 10. It now may be the time, if you've got the rest of the list in front of you, just to read out a few headlines that we've had to miss out tonight, just to give people an idea of
I'll tell you the one some of the ones that we ditched for this evening because it was just too much were, so for example, modern tattooers meet their ancient match with the ice mummies of Siberia. So it's an article about the sophistication of these of the tattoos on these Siberian mummies. There's another one. 100,000-year-old burial site in Israel is changing what we know about early humans. That's a tease. We'll probably put these links in so you can read them separately if you want. 8,000-year-old artifacts unearthed in Ashe County by Appalachian State Archaeology Team. 10,000-year-old rock engravings discovered in Libya. Archaeological find supports ancient Greek explorers' account of Britons.
Oh, that was
Crete's Temple of Demeter reveals Neolithic secrets and Phoenician ties.
Yeah, it's one of the headlines as you're reading them out.
20,000-year-old stone markings. There you go. That's what we ditched from this evening.
The headlines, as you're reading them out, Rupert, they sound great, but, we've looked behind the scenes there, and some were not quite as promising, didn't quite deliver on the promise. So that's why they mind you, Greek accounts of Britons. That was a talking point. Anyway, we'll leave those behind for the time being. So shall we move on to our first item, Rupert? Unless you've got something else there.
Yes, let's. I think I ought to say right at the top of the show that you are very bubbly, and I'm not catching every word that's coming through from you. So if I sound vague, if I haven't heard something that you've said, I'll let you know.
Okay, I think there may be a bit of a gap, but we'll have to sort of trudge on forward against the headwind. Hopefully you're getting all this, folks, out there. I have to say, I mean, often enough I've blamed Rupert and his connection down there in the south of France for, the glitches and the blurry images and so on and so forth. Turns out, that actually my connection here isn't that great in the middle of Warwickshire, but good news, my broadband is going to be doubled in speed next week, so hopefully lives going forward will be a bit cleaner. Anyway, that's all the housekeeping. That's all you need to know about things going on behind the scenes, I think. So let's go to the first item, which is archaeologists find evidence of Europe's oldest lake settlement, which is significant to us. I'll tell you why in a little bit, as a sort of generic frogman. Archaeologist down on the bottom of a lake. But anyway, archaeologists are convinced they've uncovered the oldest human settlement built on a European lake. That's a biggie. The team from Switzerland and Albania, who are working on the shores of Unearthed Lake, believe they have found an organised hunting and farming community living up to 8,000 years ago. Spending hours each day 3 meters underwater, the team is painstakingly retrieving wooden stilts that supported houses, as well as collecting bones of domesticated and wild animals, copper objects and ceramics featuring detailed carvings. Albert Hafner from the University of Bern said similar settlements have been found in Alpine and Mediterranean regions, but the settlements in the village of Lynn are half a millennium older, 500 years older, which in the context is a lot, dating back to between 6,000 and 8,000 years ago. Because it is underwater, the organic material is well preserved, and this allows us to find out what these people have been eating, what they've been planting, Hafner said. Multiple studies show that Lake Ohrid, shared by North Macedonia and Albania, is the oldest lake in Europe at over 1 million years. I presume those gaps are where ads would normally go. Ad blocker must be doing a good job. The age of the findings is determined through radiocarbon dating and dendrochronology, which measures annual growth rings in trees. More than 1,000 wood samples have been collected from the site, which may have hosted several hundred people. It's believed to cover about 6 hectares, but so far only about 1% has been excavated after 6 years of work. Another one of those, Rupert. Hafner said findings show that people who lived on the lake helped to spread agriculture and livestock to other parts of Europe. Imagine working like that, though. Well, we were talking about this the other day when we were talking about marine archaeology and things. I mean, these are relatively shallow waters in a calm lake, so they've not got it so bad. They were still doing hunting and collecting things, but the stable income from nutrition was coming from agriculture, he said. Albanian archaeologist Adrian Anastasi said it could take decades to fully explore the area. By the way they had lived, eaten, hunted, fished, and by the way the architecture was used to build this settlement, we can say they were very smart for their time. Which is a bit of a strange thing to say, but never mind.
It is a strange thing to say,
yeah.
I don't imagine for a moment that they're any different from us, really. I think that comment that
no need to apologise, Kate. You're welcome.
All these years they've only that only 1% has been excavated, and you think, well, yeah, the whole thing is, they're all right. It's shallow, but it's still 10 feet underwater. That's just not easy archaeology, is it? So I think
No.
the fact that they've only excavated 1% is it's exciting. Really,
Yeah.
we don't know what might be.
For folks whose geography isn't that hot, let me point out Lake Ohrid, which is down here. There's Greece. Albania is above, and Lake Ohrid is right there. And the excavation, I think, is in that
well done.
bay there. This is the village of Lynn. It's right there. Now, interestingly, if we go over to the other side of the lake, which is to Macedonia, look what they've got on the other side. Hey, this amazing visitor centre where they've recreated a lakeside village, just like, I presume, the one that is at Lynn. So I've not seen, what kind of age what the village that this is modelled on was. In fact, I've heard no archaeological stuff out of Macedonia for this one. But look at it. Isn't that amazing?
Yes, it's quite fantastic. Well, we were talking a few months ago, weren't we, about
look at the organisation.
It's astonishing. Do you remember we were talking a little while ago, some months ago, about some of the pile dwellings, lakeside dwellings that were 2 stories tall, sometimes 3 stories tall, and you get the impression that they're going to be, timber structures on these walkways, but some of them were actually stone walled on top of these walkways, which it just shows how tough they were. Some of them were stone built structures on piles out over the water. They certainly knew how to build. They really did.
So I think we picked it out particularly. Now, we were already aware of this excavation at Lynn. It's been going on for 6 years. And we came across it, of course, because we were looking for the traces of the journey of early farmers as they came across from the Aegean up through Greece and into the Balkans, etc. And we go on about, the 2 strands of the Neolithic developing from 6,500 BC right through to, 4,000 BC in Brittany and 4,000 BC in Britain. And we talk about the 2 strands, one through up the Danube, that way, through the Carpathian Mountains and up above the Alps, and the other across the Mediterranean. And we don't adequately talk about the people who seem to have taken a different route and sort of skipped from lake to lake, right into the into Switzerland and that kind of part. So we've got to take that into account as well. And this is phenomenal because of its early date. This is so close to the times when the first estimates of the first farmers were coming across the Aegean anyway. Some of the, Çukuröçi Hoyuk, which we were at, that dates to this similar kind of time. So it seems like everything, if the dates are right, and these people have got here, that everything was exploding in a very short period of time. So I know it's early in the evening to talk about this, but we've came across it because we were looking at ways to tell that story. And I think, Rupert, it would be fair to say that Lake Ohrid and these settlements, if we can get in touch with the people at this dig so that we incorporate it into the Göbekli Tepe to Stonehenge project. So I would, we're our next adventure is off.
We absolutely should. I mean, well, it was a shock, wasn't it? I mean, it must have been about 6 months ago. But when we were looking into pile dwellings specifically, to find that there are thousands of them through the Alps.
Yeah.
And we talk about the scales of buildings and structures in different areas, but we had not previously really imagined that pile dwellings were quite as ubiquitous as they are. So it's important that they are included, because one of the things that we don't know, for example, is that so you've got sites like this where everything is preserved because it has been underwater the whole time. But what we don't know is the extent of the settlement around it that would have been so up from the shore and extending onto dry land. We don't know how far they would have extended onto dry land, and we don't know what the domestic practices were there. Were they farming there as well? On the land, or was it principally hunter-gatherer? We don't know, and it's very important that we include these and talk to archaeologists on the ground. Really.
Well, so what I'm saying, Rupert, is that it's a request, because I would put that in our plans for next year, but we can only get there with the help of our supporters. This being, part of the Göbekli Tepe to Stonehenge project, if you can help us to get there and to the other lakes, and perhaps visit that other extant visitor centre with the fantastic reproduction of the village, to film there, and maybe at some of the other lake settlement sites in Europe. Please do have a look at the link down below to the Göbekli Tepe to Stonehenge project, which is on our Buy Me a Coffee page. Please do have a look. It would be so fantastic to get to Albania, Macedonia, and Greece, of course. And it's not too far away from.
I actually have a draft.
I think we're so out of sync, Rupert. We'll have to deal with it.
We're out of sync, and you're very bubbly for me, so I apologise if I'm interrupting. I was just going to say I have a draft email to. I'm having a senior moment. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the lead archaeologist in the Lake Ohrid site.
Is that Adrian Anastasiou?
Doesn't matter.
No.
The other one.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, well, I have got a draft email to him. We will be trying to pin him down. He speaks good English, so that could be useful.
Lily Shambles.
I'll tell you what, this is a good time to say. Yeah, go on.
Lily Shambles asked, "Is that kind of how Flag Fen would have looked?" Kinda, but Flag Fen was very small. It was only 4 or 5 4 or 5 buildings. These look a lot more sophisticated, and of course they're a heck of a lot earlier than Flag Fen. That's not to diminish Flag Fen. Yeah. Goodness gracious, it's a fabulous site from the archaeological point of view. Sorry, Rupert. I'm going to count 1, 3, 2, 1, go.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to pick up. We've got another donation from History Snippets, and I just wanted to say thank you very much. So it's very kind of you, and it will go in the fund. Yeah. No, that's much.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I have to say, folks, it's just a nota bene, is that your money, if you want to throw money at us, it goes a lot further if you go to the Buy Me a Coffee page. Google, YouTube takes a heck of a chunk of the chats. and stuff. So while they're, not saying don't, but they're hugely appreciated. I know it's easy on this platform to do it, but you can bung us as little as $5 on Buy Me a Coffee, and most of that gets to us. It's only not so much gets to us if you do super chats and things. But that said, it's easy, so don't be frightened of doing that.
Yes, but no, easy is good and simple is best. And thank you, extremely grateful. Now, I'm just thinking, Michael, because there is it the next one? Yes, it is. I am going to be so bold as in the next piece, I think it's the next piece, you're actually going to run a video, aren't you?
In the next piece, yes, I am. Yes. Thinking ahead.
While you're running that video, I am going to restart my internet connection and see if it clears, because it's never been like this before.
Okay.
So it is bold, but it's just I'm only catching kind of the 2 words out of 3, and not necessarily in that order.
Yeah. Okay. No. Right. Well, I shall go to that item now then, Rupert, and I shall introduce it, but then let the video do the talking. Is that okay? Early Bronze Age blade production. Early Bronze Age blade production workshop discovered in Israel. Rare findings deepen the understanding of both the beginnings of urbanization and of professional specialization in the land of Israel. Ring a bell, those blades? They seem so familiar to me, but they're the wrong colour. Sharp blades, anyway. In a 5,500-year-old workshop for the production of stone blades has been unearthed in the southern Israeli city of Kiryat Gat, the Israel Antiquities Authority announced on Monday. Evidence of an advanced industry was found, including long flint flakes and the stone cores from which the blades were made, according to the IAA statement. Findings were uncovered in a large IAA salvage excavation at the Nahal Komen site, known as Gat Govin Zita, funded by the Israeli Lands Authority before the construction of a new Kiryat Gat neighborhood named Karmei Gat. So, guys, what I'm going to do is, not share that, I'm going to share this, which is a video which you can see there, and I'm going to let the video do the talking. Thing is, it's not in English, but there are subtitles. So as I run it, just pay attention to the subtitles, and you should get the meat of this. This is me being lazy, but I think the pictures speak so many words. There we go.
אנחנו נמצאים צפונית מקריית גת, בחפירה של רשות עתיקות, במימון רשות מקרקעי ישראל. מדובר באתר בסדר גודל ענק, עצום.
אני מחזיק ביד שלי גרעין גדול מאוד, שממנו הפיקו עשרות של להבים כנעניים. נמצאים באתר שהוא סופר מיוחד, אתר גדול מאוד.
פלוס מינוס 5,000 שנה לפני זמננו. אתר מתאפיין בעיקר מבורות חפורים בקרקע הטבעית. אחד מהממצאים המעניינים ביותר שנמצאו באותם הבורות זה גרעינים לייצור כלי צור.
אנחנו מזהים טכנולוגיה חדשה של הפקת להבים כנעניים שהיא חודרת לאזור. ככה נראה להב כנעני, זה להב שהוא דמוי מנסרה. מהכלים האלה הכינו להבי מגל וסכינים. הקבוצה הזאת של הסטטים המומחים ישבה פה והכינה על פני פרק זמן ארוך להבים כנעניים. התופעה של ההתמחות המקצועית זה אחד מהאלמנטים שמלווים חברה שהיא מורכבת.
בקריית גת יש מרכז הפקה של להבים כנעניים. למעשה, המרכז הדרומי ביותר של הפקת להבים כנעניים בתקופת הברונזה בארץ ישראל. ייתכן, זה האתר היחיד שרואים את כל השלבים הפקה של אותם להבים. הממצאים שגילינו מוצגים הקיץ לקהל בסיור המשפחות בקריה הלאומית לארכיאולוגיה של ארץ ישראל בירושלים. כולם מוזמנים.
So there we are. I think the big takeaway from that is that you get professionalization of the skill of napping used to make those blades. I think that's the so early on, and the underlying sophistication that entails. That's an enormous site. Just goes to show, again, rescue archaeology. That's I presume that sounds like they're building a new estate. So you saw, perhaps at the beginning, the scale of that operation. So, Rupert, tell me, how's your connection now? Does it seem to have cleaned up?
Perfect.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, it's
well done,
completely
that man.
Back to normal. So thank goodness for that.
Gosh, it's almost like we know what we're doing.
I wouldn't go that far.
Forest Dweller says this kind of blade production is known much earlier in Europe, and kinda. It takes a very particular kind of thing, because you're striking blades off a core like that is extremely highly skilled thing to do if you're not going to lose a lot of the stuff that you're producing. I can only liken it to the kind of skills of producing an obsidian blade from a core like that with the percussion technique.
or indeed a pressure technique with that, and
or is it pressure? I think it is. Yes, it is a pressure technique.
They look like pressure flakes to me, but then I'm broadly ignorant. It'll be interesting to see what James tells us when we're with him in October.
That's right. That's
James
right.
Dilley.
Yeah. Yes. The point is that they're not claiming this to be the oldest. This is claiming this to be a production center. It's basically a factory. And if you suddenly come across something like this, as sophisticated as this, you wonder what the depth of time behind that is, the development of that need for that industry and that trade in the years and centuries before. That's the interesting thing. It's like when you do archaeology, you come across something sophisticated like that, boom, it's all there in one instant without a history. And you think, well, the development of this has got to have a history. So that's the surprising element, I think, of that. Anything more to say about that before we move on, Rupert?
No, nothing necessary. Well, we were curious.
Say more.
No. Well, we were curious earlier on. One of the things that it talks about in this article is this is a mineral called Canaanite.
Oh yes, I was going to ask if anybody knew.
And I'd always thought that Canaanites were the people, and it was very specifically talking about Canaanite, this mineral. And so I went a little digging, only to find out that it seems that some time ago that this mineral was badly analysed by somebody and was declared a new mineral, so they called it Canaanite. And then further research some years later said that no, actually it was a type of diorite, I think. But hold on a second, let me just see if I can. Not 100% sure here, but it said on the basis of a faulty analysis by S.L. Dana, it was thought to be a new mineral and named Canaanite. Blah, 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 blah. I won't give you all the references there. It's to a book that we don't have. But afterwards recognized it as pyroxene. And pyroxene, I believe, is a kind of diorite. Don't quote me on that. It was just that if you do read the article, it was the fact that they're calling it Canaanite, and I'd never heard of Canaanite before. But it's dioxide. That'll do it. Begins with D. Great. Well done, Joris.
So, guys, are you glad that I asked Rupert to expand on that?
So we like the fact that there's a bunch of you out there who know stuff like that.
Joris was
Joris,
there.
did
Joris,
you,
Diopside, he says, I think.
Yes.
The guy knows everything.
Yeah. Did you actually have that in your head, Joris, or have you got the article in front of you? Fantastic.
I'm moving on.
Yeah, move on. No, I think you might be right. I knew it began with a DI, and I couldn't remember. Diorite was the one that I could remember, but anyway.
5,700-year-old cannibalism, as I promised in the intro. 5,700-year-old cannibalism linked to Neolithic violence uncovered at El Mirador Cave in Spain. A new study led by IPHESCERCA and published in Scientific Reports provides evidence of 5,700-year-old human cannibalism in El Mirador Cave, Sierra de Atapuerca, Burgos, Spain. The research shows that the event occurred in the context of a violent clash between late Neolithic herder communities. The remains of at least 11 individuals, children, adolescents, and adults, were uncovered. They had been skinned, sorry about this, guys, defleshed, disarticulated, fractured, cooked, and consumed. The bones show signs of systematic cannibalism, with no sign of ritual or funerary intent. Researchers think the event was most likely the outcome of intergroup violence, possibly between locals and other farming communities or newcomers. Dr. Palmira Saladier, lead researcher from whatever they pronounce that group of letters, and Universitat Rovira Virgili, pointed out the complexity of the interpretation of cannibalism. Cannibalism is one of the most complex behaviours to interpret due to the inherent difficulty of understanding the act of humans consuming other humans. Moreover, in many cases, we lack all the necessary evidence to associate it with a specific behavioural context. Finally, societal biases tend to interpret it invariably as an act of barbarism, she explained. I presume I haven't looked at the paper myself, but presuming this is pretty deep. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to come to these conclusions. So that's more details about the study. Human remains have been found in 2 sections of the cave and were remarkably well preserved. Taphonomic analysis showed clear cut marks, marrow extraction, burning, and human bite marks. Isotopic analysis revealed that the individuals were locals. Radiocarbon dating places the event between 5,700 and 5,570 years ago in the late Neolithic, just before the cave was converted for funerary use. So, kind of sorry, not sorry, because the next 2 articles are kind of in a similar vein as well. And I guess that's the interesting thing about doing prehistory, is that stuff comes back unfiltered. Yeah. We're sort of looking at a very dark, reflective pool sometimes. These are human beings, and we can get strange things in our heads about what is the right and correct things to do. So I don't need to say much more about that. I can show you some pictures. Oh, I thought that was the end of the article. Oh, crikey. The findings refer to the deliberate elimination of an entire family group and their consumption. Conflict and their development of strategies to manage prevented are part of human nature, Rodriguez Hidalgo explained. Ethnographic and archaeological records show that even in less stratified, small-scale societies, violent episodes can occur in which enemies were consumed as a form of ultimate elimination. Sorry, I'm not showing that on the screen. And the researchers compared the case to other Neolithic massacres in Europe, such as the Talheim pit and Elstrox. Never heard of that one before, Rupert. But said El Mirador offers clearer signs of systematic consumption. same patterns have been found at Fontbregio Cave in France and Herxheim in Germany. Yeah, we're familiar with those band Quranic examples of people being horrible to each other. Yeah. Do you want to say anything more about that one before we move on to the next one? I think
it is just me being picky again. But the other thing I would say is, that, well, it's the fact that there's this interpretation that, in fact, it says that one of the sentences that you read out, violent episodes can occur in which enemies were consumed as a form of ultimate elimination. Yeah. To me, that's an interpretation too far, really. You have no idea okay, they ate them, but you can't say they were eating them as an act of total elimination.
Well, I think there's ethnographic evidence that that cannibalism is performed in that kind of way. Both in more recent times. I think yes, it's a reasonable projection. I don't know. Hands up, confess. I haven't read the papers, so I don't know. What forensic evidence.
I'm uncomfortable with it as a dogmatic statement.
I don't. Really. Yeah, but I don't think anybody's being dogmatic. It's all a question of likelihoods when it comes down to it. When examining this kind of evidence, I guess. But it's not unprecedented. That kind of behaviour as an exertion of power over an enemy. I can't bring examples to mind, but it's got a familiar kind of ring to it. Anyway, I want to sort of just get these three out of the way, as one almost. So we've also got sacrificial pits revealed, mysterious Neolithic practices. Now we're going to Germany. Archaeologists have uncovered 5,000-year-old sacrificial pits near Gerstivitz in Saxony-Anhalt, Germany, revealing a haunting glimpse into ancient ritual practices. So initial studies have associated the pits with the Salzmunder culture, a late group from the Funnelbeker culture in central Saar-Elbe region of Germany. Known for their unique burial customs, the culture often placed the dead in crouched positions beneath layers of pottery shards and remnants of burnt homes. Many examples of burials show indications of violence or reburial, along with evidence of elaborate and multifaceted rituals involving the dead. So I don't need to read anymore. If you want to, obviously, do click through to this in the link below. But I'm just it's too much, these three in a row, and I just didn't want to dwell on it too much. But on the other hand, it kind of makes a point. And going to France, eastern France, evidence for Neolithic burial pits reveals gruesome war practices. The Neolithic period, considered to be the last part of the Stone Age, may have been a brutal time to be alive for many people in Europe. Archaeological studies have found evidence of massacres involving entire communities, somewhat common abductions of young females, executions and mass graves. The areas of Achenheim and Bergheim in northeastern France, is that in the Alsace region? Must be. Were found to have experienced this kind of violence sometime around 4,300 to 4,150 BCE. So this is working on a study from 2015. Again, to read a bit deeper, do click through on the link below. But this is more a report, I think, of modern techniques going back to an old report or old data and evidence, and doing the old isotopic analysis thing and distinguishing the perpetrator of the act of burial and bad treatment of the enemy, shall we say. But before this study, it wasn't clear that the people that were in the pit were a different region from the people in the area which they lived. So their analysis revealed a stark difference between the two groups, suggesting that victims likely belonging to invading groups, not to the local population. The victims showed evidence of having a different diet than those that appeared to have a normal burial, and different cultural practices, and also mobility patterns occurring during childhood that indicated possible migration. The study authors believe these differences provide strong evidence that the the mutilations were war-related, and that the severed arms may have served as a kind of trophy which aligned with the practices of others during that time. The most likely scenario is that the severed upper limbs were trophies taken from the bodies of enemies fallen in battle or raids immediately after death and brought to the village. Heads and hands seem to be the most common human trophies documented in this archaeological record, although written and ethnographic sources often refer to other body parts, including soft tissues that were not generally preserved, such as scalps, ears, or genitals, the authors write. So I don't want to do any more of that. But like I said, doing prehistory, sometimes you're looking in a dark glass, in a pretty dark mirror sometimes, because there's nobody to spin this. There's nobody in between to write down a justification. Well, they did that, so this, that, all those kind of stuff. This is us doing stuff. This is human beings doing stuff. It's raw, and we sometimes it just hopefully helps us deal with us being us. Yeah. You have a take on that, Rupert?
As I said before, we might not have much cannibalism left on the planet, but in terms of our ability to cause suffering to people who don't look quite like us, remains just as strong in the human species as it ever has.
The other.
Yeah,
and the other
exactly.
always takes the blame as well. Yeah. We're good at justifying.
Yeah.
So,
Joris
this prehistory...
is making a comment here. I'm sorry, Joris, I haven't seen the thread of your comment, but I just saw the last one pop up. The Anglo-Saxons took the arms of their opposing kings, mighty... what's that say? I'm wearing the wrong glasses. But yeah, it is. It's an interesting thing, isn't it? War trophies and battle trophies. Very familiar with Native American scalping, for example, but the randomness of removing body parts in different cultures is. It is quite gruesome, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Yes, Murdy, Paul, Michael, grilled bollocks do not appeal. No, they don't. They never will.
Well, you can go to the butcher's not far from here, and granted they're not human bollocks, but you can buy sweetbreads all over the place.
That's true. Yes, that is true.
Highly nutritious, apparently.
Yeah. Anyway,
I can't eat them. That's a wince too far.
but we look back, and view humans in all their guises. Humans being extraordinarily beautiful, humans being amazing geniuses, and humans being amazing arseholes. About sums it up. Hello.
Yeah.
Shall I move on, Rupert?
Yeah.
Yeah. Enough of my witterings and justification for doing prehistory, being a prehistory guy. Okay. Oh, yeah. 3 prehistoric Domus to Janus, House of the Fairies or House of Witches, unearthed in Sardinia in Italy. Hold on, let me get rid of that sidebar. Like that. Excuse me. During recent excavations at the St. Andrew Priu archaeological site in Bonorva, Sardinia, archaeologists uncovered 3 previously unknown Domus to Janas. These are pre-Neolithic rock-cut chamber tombs found in Sardinia, known as House of the Fairies or House of the Witches in Sardinian. The tombs resemble houses and were constructed by the people from the San Ciriaco through Oziera cultures and later groups. So, as I say, this is Neolithic and pretty early. Again, I don't want... the article goes into a sort of a detailed description of these 3 particular. Now, the point is that there are loads of these places in Sardinia. Sardinia is one of these places that is overloaded with megalithic sites, right from the Neolithic, from this period and before, right through the Copper Bronze Age and into the Iron Age with the Nuraghi towers, for which the Nuraghic culture is named, which was a huge force in the Mediterranean, after 1600 BC up until 1200 BC, 1000 BC, something like that. But I've got something for you because, well, first of all, again, if anybody's a bit slack on their geography, that's Sardinia there. 2023, my wife and I were on holiday. Where is it? Up here. Oh Lord, I've forgotten it now. Yeah, it's right here. Yeah, there it is. Arpitax there. And if you look on there's a site called Area Archeologica Sortai du Monte, which is a site of a Nuraghi. So without any further beating about the bush, I'm just going to show you a little compilation of stuff that I took there, starting with one of the Tomba di Giganti monuments there, which are, these are all over Sardinia, and they resemble so much the long barrows. You'd think we're going back to the early Neolithic, but not. These are actually later. This is the base of a Nuraghi. It looks smaller in the picture than it actually is. They're rather like Scottish brochs in so many ways, including the fact that they've got these staircases going up inside the walls. So those walls are really thick. And these, again, ubiquitous all over the place. I don't know, who was building these, whether these were farmers needing to protect their land, their existence, etc. I do not know. So these are rare plainal areas. Now this is the thing. Here we are going down to a House of the Fairy. This is just on the hill behind the Nuraghi there. And that hole there is directly cut into the rock. That is a lot of work. And here we go. Inside. Look at that. To think that was cut directly out of the rock.
It's a staggering amount of work. What is the height of that portal?
3 feet? No, less.
Oh, there you go.
2.5, I don't know. And, just to, again, the rare plains of Sardinia. It's a very, very mountainous is Sardinia. But that, you see, that is adjacent to the Nuraghi, which is much, much later than if they're contemporary with these other sites mentioned in the article, which are much, much earlier. Do you know what? Is it the Dwarfy stone on Hoy?
Yes.
in Orkney, which is a huge lump. It's a huge lump of rock which has had a chamber carved out of it. You think, whose idea was that?
Yeah. It would be really interesting to know how long it took to do that sort of thing, because we forget sometimes. You see master craftsmen today. Now, granted, they're using the best tungsten carbide tools and things like that, that speed things up enormously. But nevertheless, when a real craftsman is at work, it's amazing how quickly they can do things that you would imagine would take 10 times as long. I'm just curious, with something like this, if you were really excavating that amount of solid rock, just how long that would have taken, and how many people were working together to achieve that. It is a remarkable thing to see.
Helen, you may not be far off, because they would make very, very good refrigerators. Sardinia is a bit on the warm side. There, I think, as I remember. I mean, that one I discovered and went into there is not as elaborate as the one that's described in the article, which you can see as. Sorry, you could see if I showed it. There, let me just narrow that. Yeah, it's that you can see carved into the walls of that drawing. In that drawing are the columns that would normally support the roof, and you see the rafters. A depiction of the rafters has been carved into the roof. And I mean, how amazing is that? So. Don't know what function they served. There's so much stuff like this on Sardinia. It's so worth a visit. Anything else you want to say about that, Rupert, before we move on? I mean, I did just really. I chose that article simply because I knew I had footage of that could illustrate it. So
Yeah. Not really. I think it's lovely when anything new like this is found, and I like the fact there's a commonality when you look at how often these structures, wherever they may be, whatever sort of structure they are, how often they are called the Hill of the Fairies and that sort of thing. I can't think of that many elsewhere other than Sardinia where they're called the Witches' House, other than Labercali in Ireland, that is the Hag's Bed, that was supposed to be where a witch lived. I can't think of many more. But fairies, yes, fairies everywhere.
Hold on. I'm going to do this now. I'm trying to alter the exposure. Oh, no. That wasn't... Oh, sorry, guys. Ignore me. Rupert, I think it's time to move on to the next one. So I'm doing that, which is about the one about the Sumerian myth. This is fascinating. It's rather a long article. Have you got a handle on the basis of this, and which I should concentrate on?
The basis of it, yeah. So it's another pantheon of gods, basically. So there are similarities with the Greek gods, for example, and the essence of the story is that there is a storm god who is kidnapped, and the storm god's father enlists the help of the fox to rescue the storm god, his son, from the netherworld. And the reason that this is so interesting is that if you it's that thing of the god of the gaps again. How people create mythology because of the things that we can't explain, and I really like the fact that you can imagine in a situation where maybe there has been extreme drought for a period of time. And so this mythology arises where the storm god has been kidnapped, and that's why there's been no rain. You can just see how these stories come into being.
Yeah. So the story is actually about fox and two deities, a fox or the fox in this, and two deities. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
it's the storm god. I can't remember their names actually.
But this is in the time of the city-states, and each city-state had a patron deity. I'm reading that, and this is not coming off the top of my head. So yes, like I said, I didn't want to read it, but the essential thing of it, and this is a new interpretation of this tablet, which has been where for how many years, Rupert?
Where has the tablet been?
Yeah.
I can't remember which museum. It's not the British Museum one, is it?
Oh, beg your pardon. The tablet NI 12501. So I don't think it's
NI
British
as
Museum
in
thing.
Nippur.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know what? I can't help think. I'm sorry about my exposure. I don't know what's gone wrong here. Hey ho. I think it's because
I can tell you. I'll read you a paragraph, just one short paragraph,
please
because
do.
It says the main protagonists are Enlil, Ishkur, and Fox. Enlil is the acting head of the Sumerian pantheon and is often referred to as King of the Gods, whose main sanctuary is in the city of Nippur, i.e. the city in which this tablet fragment was found. In what is preserved of NI 12501, his leading role can be seen in the fact that he has the authority to convene the divine assembly. In this fragment and a few other sources, storm god Ishkur is considered Enlil's son. Ishkur was responsible for bringing rain. In southern Iraq, there is not enough annual rainfall for agriculture, so people had to dig canals branching off the two main rivers, the Euphrates and the Tigris. We did a piece about that a few months ago as well, to irrigate their fields. The fact that they mainly relied on irrigation agriculture explains why the Sumerian storm god was never as important as the Semitic storm god, who was venerated in regions further north and west, where where rain-fed agriculture was possible. Now, that in itself is I feel strikingly important. That how people's relationships with their gods, even though they recognized in adjacent lands, they recognized the different gods, but they just had very, very different importance to them. If this god doesn't affect us, we've got irrigation from the canal, so we don't care about your rain god. It's fascinating, really, how this is so far-reaching.
Yeah, apparently my overexposure is a thing. I'm sorry, guys, I didn't see that coming. Michael overexposing himself. Thank you, Lily. Do you know what? Thinking about Fox, I mean, as Nelly says, right? Fantastic Mr. Fox from the Neolithic to eternity, and I can't help thinking of the fox carving at Göbekli Tepe.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's a very good point. They did actually say
he's well up there,
in
Mr.
the analysis
Fox, isn't he?
of. He certainly is. It's interesting that they did say in the analysis of this tablet that they thought that this was the first known instance of the fox being referred to as being cunning, and because he was the reason the fox was enlisted by the storm god's father was because the fox was going to be canny enough to con his way into the netherworld to actually do the rescue. So, where does that come from, and why do we still call foxes cunning today? When when you think about it, a fox doesn't display any greater cunning than, say, a cat, or you can think of any number of animals. So it is interesting to think how far back those kinds of notions may travel in time.
That's right. Yeah. Different gods, different regions, absolutely. Alistair. Not only that, but in vastly different times as well. Göbekli Tepe to the Sumerian gods, different. But, it's just interesting that fox is important in the mythology, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on, Rupert.
Yeah.
To British Bronze Age Sickle, unearthed in France, revealing ancient trade links. That's I can't see the scale properly. It looks quite.
It's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
It is. Isn't it? Of course, I always get it wrong. Sorry, folks, to digress slightly, but when I think of a sickle, I think of something that's very sharp and is got a broad sweep when you use it. These kinds of sickles, and the sickles made of bone and chipped flint or what have you, are a very different kettle of fish entirely. They involve the grasping of the stalks of the whatever it is, and deliberate cutting rather than the sweep of a sharpened arced blade. I think that. Because the size of that doesn't, I think of sickles as being big, quite big bladed things. Is that important?
What you mean? You mean a scythe?
A scythe. That's a scythe. Yes, this is a sickle. Sorry, I talked in the last minute. Carry on.
It's interesting though, because look, you see, that's a 5 centimeter rule at the bottom there.
Yeah.
So that whole thing is whole thing is like 6 inches.
Yeah.
That's roughly 6-inch blade kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
anyway, carrying on. Archaeologists have uncovered a rare Bronze Age sickle in France at the Siry site in Val de Reuil in the lower Seine Valley, dating to the Atlantic Bronze Age between 1200 and 600 BC. The artifact is one of only a handful of such finds recorded in the country. Sickle is made of copper alloy, remains intact, although its tip is broken off. The missing piece was recovered alongside the main artifact. The chipped edges on the curved blade suggest that it was used extensively. The socket features a side ring, 2 holes that were once used to secure a wooden handle with pegs. One peg, still lodged in place, appears to be made of bone. Traces of the handle survive inside the socket. Scientific analysis could not determine the exact type of wood, but tests narrowed the possibilities to willow, poplar, black alder, hornbeam, or hazel. Narrowed it? Okay. Willow is considered the most likely candidate. Socketed sickles of this type are believed to have originated in the British Isles and are seldom found in France. Only around 10 examples are known, concentrated along the Channel coast, in the Somme and Seine valleys, and on the Atlantic coast. There's an end view. Within the Seine Valley, only 2 other specimens have been documented before this discovery, one from Vernon in Eure and another recovered from the river in Paris. The new find not only broadens the archaeological record for the region, but also offers insight into the movement of goods during the Bronze Age. So, Sickle points to active trade networks linking communities on both sides of the Channel at the end of the Bronze Age. These connections relied heavily on river systems such as the Seine, which served as key transport routes for people, goods, and raw materials. Archaeologists say the artifact is also part of a broader pattern in which metalwork travelled significant distances during this period, reflecting both economic and cultural ties across the Atlantic seaboard. Well, you know what? None of this should really come as a surprise, should it, Rupert? It's
not in any way, but it's it's an interesting piece to have found when they are so rare in the region, anyway.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's always great when there are ways of underlining the way that people were communicating and trading with each other in prehistory. But this pales into insignificance, beside the stuff we've been talking about, early trade in the Neolithic and the Aegean and the Mediterranean. And indeed, we're going to be talking a lot during the coming weeks about axes from the Alpine Italian Alps, and also not only that, but axes originating in Brittany from a quarry that we're going to be visiting. 4 of those from the Neolithic. We're talking 3,500 BC. 4 axes from that site in Brittany were found in Britain. So, one bronze sickle found in France, one big deal, and go back a few thousand years, and you've got more coming from stone axes coming from Brittany into France all over.
It's true,
all over.
It's true, but we've always got the uncomfortable thing with where there seems to be such an imbalance between something like this, bronze sickles as an example, and stone axes, in that a stone axe is a stone axe. It can't, if it breaks, it's broken. If a sickle breaks, or if any bronze artifact breaks, then it can be melted down and reforged as something else. So no, there's not going to be so many bits and pieces left. I think
carry on talking.
Yes. I'll just talk behind his back. Mike was expecting a delivery this morning. I think it was this morning, and that's it. It's just arriving now. But no, it's a very interesting point about the metals, and particularly copper. Why don't we find any copper artifacts? It's because anything made of copper was then melted down as soon as they started using bronze, and turned into something better. And the same would always apply when you had a broken bronze tool. Then you're just going to melt it down and use the material again. So there's not going to be so many to be found. It just stands to reason.
Do we think we'll find
you
any
back?
Yeah. I should have stayed out longer and had you panic. See how long you could.
It's do you know what? I'll talk nonsense as long as you like.
And people are going all Doctor Who on us in the chat. Have you noticed?
Yeah, there's. I don't. What was the quarry?
Why, if we mention a quarry, do
sure
people go Doctor Who? Because most of the, which series of it, series of Doctor Who were mostly filmed in a quarry.
There's probably quite a few.
Yeah. Yes, this is a very different kind of quarry we're talking about. This is one of the Placidian. Mind you, seems to be only the one major one. But an axe factory. We should have called it an axe factory. That would have been closer to the truth of the matter.
Yeah. Actually,
anyway.
it's something. Those of you who are, because there's a few of you here. Those of you who are coming with us in September, you're going to love this quarry site at Placidian. It's you really can just touch the past. You're looking at all these. There's more than one polissoir there where the blades were actually honed, and just places where you can see that you can see exactly how the work was being done, and it's just putting your fingers in where somebody else's fingers were 5,000 years ago. It's fantastic.
I'm a bit worried about the state of inebriation of some of our folk in the chat, the spelling that's going on.
And we haven't said ritual once. That's the first time we've said ritual tonight. Oh, no, you might have read it out in the Neolithic thing. So if you guys have been taking a swig every time we haven't said ritual, then
my Lord.
That's not playing the game.
Doctor Who time shares the quarry with William Shatner. Nellie says, can I bring my axe to fix it? Why not? Is it a dolerite axe, or what's your axe made of, Nellie?
Just don't bring it in hand luggage, eh?
Best not. Yeah. Anyway, look, listen. We've got one more item to get to, so without further ado, I will go there. Iron Age cauldrons reveal ancient feasting rituals and metalworking expertise. Is that a reproduction? Yes, it says underneath.
Yes.
Look closely, bot.
Yes.
For goodness sake.
I tell you what, that would be a remarkable thing to uncover, wouldn't it? If that was original.
That's crazy. I don't know what I was thinking for a moment there, but that is, quite a thing. That is. Analysis of cauldrons nearly 2.5 millennia old have allowed archaeologists to create a near-perfect replica, providing insight into the skills of Iron Age metalworkers in the process. Good old experimental archaeology. A unique collection of Iron Age metal artifacts which shed new light on feasting rituals among prehistoric communities was discovered. Excuse me. Among prehistoric communities, it was discovered by the University of Leicester archaeologists in 2013 during an excavation near the village of Glenfield, Leicestershire. The trove of metalwork, one of the largest of its kind from the country, included a complete sword, dress items, including pins and a brooch, but the majority of the assemblage comprised remains of a group of 11 large cauldrons made of copper, alloy and iron. One of only 2 large collections of such objects from anywhere in Iron Age Europe. Really? Wow. The collection is unprecedented in terms of the overall mix of findings, with the cauldrons highlighting the role of the settlement as a probable host site for feasting, with associated traditions of ritual deposition of deposition of important objects. The cauldrons are made from several separate parts, comprising iron rims, hemispherical copper alloy bowls, and 2 iron ring handles attached to an iron upper band. They were found in extremely fragile condition and were lifted from the excavation site in soil blocks for later analysis. I think this is an example of, a lot of work being done well after the event. I think this is quite a long article, which is going to go into a lot of detail. The link, if you want to read it, is down below. But you were particularly fascinated by this one, Rupert. Is there something I'm missing by not reading further?
I liked that. Not particularly. I mean, it is a long article, but there are certain bits that they calculated, for example, that the capacities of the cauldrons were between 15 and 57 litres. And so, they were just calculating that from a feasting point of view at a site, if this is at a site, then you could have dealt with hundreds of people. You could have, which, that in itself is significant. And the other thing was that this guy, Hector Cole,
I've just got to him here. There we go.
Now, he said that one of the things that became apparent when he was trying to reproduce this thing was that it had to be done in a particular order, because if you didn't do it in that particular order, don't ask me the details, then it just wouldn't retain its shape. So that in itself is interesting. The roundness of it would just collapse if it was done the wrong way around.
Well,
so copper and iron.
There's the man himself there, and he's quoted as saying, the forging of the cauldrons was a steep learning curve for him. For me to put myself into the minds of the people who made the original cauldrons. The technical skills they used were of the highest order, and in my opinion, they were specialist cauldron makers of their time. So there's another, professional aspect of providing stuff. He says, today it is so easy to mechanically punch or drill holes to a particular diameter, and yet they were doing the same in bronze with iron with great precision. They were also fully aware of the fact that creep needs to be taken into consideration when putting the two main parts together with so many rivets. Do it in the wrong order and you end up, as you were saying, about the order. Cool. That's nice. So this is a ending on a happy note here, Rupert. Because all hail the artisans of the past. That's cheating. Skilled workers and technicians are of the past. Just human beings do what they do. Be brilliant, absolutely flipping brilliant sometimes, and absolutely awful and unforgivable at others. So that seems to be the theme of the evening. Anything else you want to add to my witterings about that?
No, Gary McKinnon has just said, I just started watching from the start. Both these guys seem pleasantly high. I don't really know.
Just high on.
I've been drinking water all day. Nothing has passed my lips. I'm waiting until we've finished before I sit down on the sofa with a glass of wine.
Gary, I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's us floating on the surface, just trying to compensate for our imposter syndrome. That's what it is. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So that is it, folks. Thank you, Nelly, to Gary. That's their baseline. It is. To be.
It is. We're just happy people. What do you want?
Comes with the territory. Yeah. Excellent. So on that bombshell, it's time to say bye-bye. Thank you ever so much for being with us, guys. You always make it a joy and keep us on the straight and narrow. Don't know when the next live will be. We'll try to get another one out there before we go away in September. 14th of September is when we go away. So I'm sure there'll be much more news to give to you before then. I'll talk about before then. So without any more faffing about, I think it's time to say goodbye. That's bye-bye from me.
No, it's time to say goodbye. Yes, and bye-bye from me, and thank you for being there, folks. We'll see you again very soon.
I better press the finish button. Right.